Hannibal Biography Warrior, General c. 247 BCE c. 183 BCE. Hannibal was known for leading the Carthaginian army and a team of elephants across southern Europe and the Alps mountains against Rome in the Second Punic War. Synopsis. Hannibal, general of the Carthaginian army, lived in the 2nd and 3rd century BC. He was born into a Carthaginian military family and made to swear hostility toward Rome. During the Second Punic War, Hannibal swept across southern Europe and through the Alps, consistently defeating the Roman army, but never taking the city itself. Rome counterattacked and he was forced to return to Carthage, where he was defeated. He worked for a time as a statesman before he was forced into exile by Rome. To avoid capture by the Romans, he eventually took his own life. Early life. Hannibal Barca was born in Carthage, present-day Tunisia, in approximately 247 BC. He was the son of Carthaginian general Hamilcar Barca, meaning thunderbolt. After Carthage's defeat by the Romans in the First Punic War in 241 BC, Hamilcar devoted himself to improving both his and Carthage's fortunes. At an early age, he took Hannibal to Spain and made him swear eternal hostility toward the Roman Empire. At age 26, Hannibal was given command of an army and immediately set out to consolidate Carthaginian control of Iberia. He married Amalsa, an Iberian princess, and conquered or allied with numerous Iberian tribes. He made the seaport of Carthage new city, now Cartagena, his home base. In 219 BC, Hannibal attacked the town of Saguntum, Spain, raising the ire of Rome and starting the Second Punic War. Marched toward Rome in late spring, 218 BC, Hannibal marched through the Pyrenees toward Gaul, southern France, with more than 100,000 troops and nearly 40 war elephants. He met little resistance from local forces allied to Rome. Roman general Publius Cornelius Scipio attempted to confront him at the Rhone River, but Hannibal had already crossed it and was on his way to the Alps. Hannibal's Alps crossing was a remarkable military achievement. In addition to an inclement climate, Hannibal's army faced guerrilla attacks from indigenous tribes who rolled heavy stones across their path. On the 15th day of the crossing, and more than 5 months away from Cartagena, Hannibal finally exited the Alps with just 20,000 infantry, 6,000 cavalry and all 37 elephants. The Second Punic War. Over the next 3 years, Hannibal's army battled Scipio's forces for control of Italian territory. For most of this time, Hannibal fought with little aid from Carthage. He was able to inflict heavy casualties on the Roman army in the battles of Trebiae, Trasimene and Cannae, but at a heavy cost in men and many of his elephants. He was able to get within 3 miles of the capital before a stalemate ensued. Hannibal did not have the numbers to successfully push into Rome, and Scipio didn't have the superior forces to defeat him. Meanwhile, Rome dispatched forces to Iberia and North Africa, raiding Carthaginian towns and villages. In 203 BC, Hannibal abandoned his Roman campaign and traveled back to defend his country. In 200 BC, the armies of Hannibal and Scipio met at the Battle of Zama, where, unlike in previous meetings, the Romans had superior forces. They used trumpets to stampede the remaining few elephants, which circled back and trampled the Carthaginian troops. Hannibal's army was scattered and many of his soldiers were gradually hunted down and killed by the Romans. Statesmen. The Roman terms for peace were extremely harsh on the Carthaginians, severely reducing their military and extracting large separations. After being elected the chief magistrate, Hannibal spent the next several years in Carthaginian politics. During this time, he instituted elections for military judges and changed terms of office from life to 2 years. Exile and death. However, the Romans eventually became concerned about Hannibal's growing power and in 195 BC demanded that he retire from office. Hannibal moved to Ephesus, Turkey and became a military advisor. In 190 BC, he was placed in command of a Seleucid Greek Empire fleet and engaged in war with Rome's ally Pergamon. Hannibal's army was defeated, and he fled to Bithynia. The Romans demanded he be turned over to them, but he was determined not to fall into enemy hands and fled. In approximately 183 BC, at Libyssus, near the Bosphorus Straits, Hannibal took his own life by ingesting a vial of poison. Hannibal Barca 274 to 183 BC is one of the greatest military strategists to have ever lived. He was born in 274 BC in Carthage, modern-day Tunisia, which is in North Africa. Carthage was settled by the Phoenicians, and their cultural influence was found throughout Mediterranean Sea nations. The Carthaginians were skilled and masters of merchant trading, and they ruled during the pre-Roman era, according to Black history heroes. Hannibal market ancient coins. Unfortunately, there is no image available of Hannibal, but ancient coins that are said to be dated to 1,000 years ago by historians is the best representation of him and his legacy of taming elephants and using them while in warfare. French historian Gabriel Ottizio said, Hannibal to be neither a Phoenician, nor a Carthaginian, nor a Punic, but a North African. The majority of the Punic populace seems to have had African, indeed Negroid, ancestry. Both Carthage and Rome were at war during the First Punic War from 264 to 441 BC. Both empires were fighting over the Mediterranean Sea to have control over trade routes. Hannibal's father, Hamilcar Barca, was a general of Carthaginian mercenaries, and was enraged by the losses to Sicily and Sardinia. Hannibal was 17 years old when his father was ambushed and killed in Spain, which was under North African rule. This is when Hannibal's legacy of being a great military commander began. Hannibal's Carthaginian army with warrior elephants invading Rome during the Second Punic War in 218 BC. Hannibal brought the fight to the Romans by traveling through the Alps with his soldiers and tamed military elephants. Hannibal had an army of 100,000 men that included Numidians and North Africans from Algeria. One of Hannibal's speeches, "Why are you afraid? The greater part of our journey is accomplished. We have surmounted the Pyrenees, we have crossed the Rhone, that mighty river, in spite of the opposition of thousands of Gauls and the fury of the river itself. Now we have the Alps in sight. On the other side of those mountains lies Italy. Does anyone imagine the Alps to be anything but what they are, lofty mountains? No part of the earth reaches the sky, or is insurmountable to mankind. The Alps produce and support living things. If they are passable by a few men, they are passable to armies." The Carthaginians believed Rome was considering an invasion of Africa, and Hannibal acted fast to save Carthage from Roman invading forces. On the way to bring the fight to the Romans, Hannibal and his men were met with treacherous terrain from the Alps where 2,000 men died in just 2 weeks. They also had battles with tribesmen, and disease and starvation also had an impact on Hannibal's men. Hannibal won the battle, but lost the war. At the end, Hannibal was unable to fulfill his father's wishes because he couldn't conquer Rome. When the Second Punic War was over, Hannibal retreated to Carthage with his army because they were defeated by Roman general Scipio Africanus. When Hannibal was 64 years old, he was taken prisoner by Rome, and before committing suicide by poison, he said, "Let us now put an end to the great anxiety of the Romans who have thought it too lengthy and too heavy a task to wait for the death of a hated old man." Hannibal Barca. Black magic of black people. Both Hannibal Barca and Queen Anna's envoys were willing to fight and die for their country and people. Their pride, determination, and bravery they displayed during their time on Earth can only be matched by a select few of people. Black magic displayed by black people unifying for a common goal has to be a serious threat to the European government power structure. What other explanation is there for one group of people to constantly oppress another group of people for centuries?